All right, so let's figure out how to read the table. So what we've got here is a picture of a normal distribution, the standard normal distribution, which has the mean at 0 and standard deviations 1. You'll notice I've labeled it Z because we're looking at Z scores, and we use the variable Z for the standard normal distribution. So if I want to find the probability that Z is less than 1, well, that is basically this whole area right there, anywhere left of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look up in the table where Z equals 1. And what it should say there is 0.84134. So you should look up in the table where it says Z equals 1, and it's the first row, because that's actually 1.0, and you should be able to find 0.84134. Let's say I wanted to find the area or the probability of Z being less than negative 1. In other words, this area down in there. Well, you're going to look up in the table where Z equals negative 1, and again it's negative 1.0, so look in the first column, and you should see something like, well, not something like, you should see 0.15866. So that's how you look up things in the table. You might have seen in the lesson where it said that I believe it was 68% of the population is within 1 standard deviation of the mean. In other words, this area in there is 68%. And if you look at our numbers, this number right there says that is 15.866, or, close to 16%. And because this is symmetrical, this part in there is also 16%, which leaves the part in the middle 100 minus 16 minus 16, which is where the 68 comes from. So 68% is the area or the probability between 1 and negative 1. Let's go down a bit further and let's look at a different value to make sure that we know where to look up things in the table. So in the table, you want to go to the positive part because we're going to look up 0.75. So go to the row with a 0.7 in front of it, and then go across to where you see the 0.05. So what's happening here? That is 0.75. And what you should find under that column is 0.77337. And that represents the area or the probability to the left of Z equals 0.75. If I ask what's the probability of Z being greater than 0.75, in other words, right here, that is this area over there. A big idea here is that the area, the total area under the curve is 1. So if I know this area over here is 0.77337, then I can subtract that from 1 to get this area over there, which happens to be 0.22663. Again, it's 1 minus the area to the left. The table always represents the area to the left of the value. This time, let's pick a negative number. That's the probability that Z is less than negative 0.52. So I drew that on here. Remember, the mean and the median and the mode are all 0 on the Z normal distribution. So the probability that Z is less than negative 0.52, that is that in there. And by the way, this could mean the probability of someone being this much shorter than average, or this much lighter than average, or having an IQ this much lower than average. In other words, a little over 1/2 standard deviation below the mean. Or it could mean things filled with liquid, or it could represent a volume. Anyway, so if I look up negative 0.52, find the row with negative 0.5 in front of it, and then go over to the column with 0.02, and you should see the number 0.30153. Find that number, that's the probability or the area to the left of Z equals negative 0.52. And we've touched on this a little bit before at the very top. If I want the area or the probability of being between, of Z being between negative 0.52 and Z equals 0.75, what's happening here is I'm going to take the area to the left, the total area to the left of 0.75, and I'm going to go like this. That's the area to the left of 0.75. And we already know that is this. And then I'm going to subtract the area or the probability left of negative 0.52. So I'm going to take away this area in here, and what I'm left with is the area in between. So if I take away the 0.30153, I will get the area in between, which is 0.7184. And let's say we were talking about people's heights. This could mean what is the probability, or what percentage of the population would be between this height and this height, where one height was below the mean, negative 0.52 to the left or below the mean, and 0.75 above. In other words, what is the probability of being between those two values, depending on whatever context we're talking about. So to get the area or probability between two values, you take the top one or the upper one and subtract the lower one.